Welcome to the Energy Exchange, a podcast by AEE GTA chapter that explores the intersection of global energy trends, policies and regulations, smart grids, innovations, EV and infrastructure, energy audits, and many others, all through engaging and exchanging experiences among AEE experts worldwide. I am your host, Mo Ayub, and today we have a special guest, Samer Zawaide, who served as the president of AEE in 2020 and is also a recipient of AEE Fellow 2023, Distinguished Service Award on Board of Directors 2023, Distinguished Service Award Past President 2022, International Energy Professional Development Award 2015. Samer is expert in Jordan's power sector with extensive experience in collaborating with international consultants on national strategies funded by the World Bank, including National E-Mobility Strategy, Smart Grid Options, and Long-Term Low Carbon and Climate Resilient Strategy. He is also a lecturer at Al Hussein Technical University teaching energy policy regulation and economics, and services as national expert for the UNDP, where he developed an ESCO accreditation scheme to foster the energy services market. Additionally, he has worked on greenhouse gas guidelines with the GIZ, addressed energy poverty through the water, energy, food, and ecosystems nexus with the regional energy governance and development, and contributed to carbon market with South Pole and International Renewable Energy Agency. With a background in construction and structural engineering, Samer specializes in energy efficiency, project management, and various aspects of construction engineering. Good morning, Samer. Welcome and happy Earth Day.
Good morning, Mo. Thank you very much for having me here, and I'm very excited to be here and to be part of this discussion celebrating Earth Day to raise awareness about environmental issues and energy.
Excellent. Let us dive right in. You have extensive experience in Jordan's power sector, particularly in solar energy and energy efficiency. Can you share a bit about your journey and what led you to focus on these areas?
Yes, of course. We started the renewable energy and energy efficiency journey when the Renewable Energy and Energy Efficiency Law 2012 was issued. And this was the baseline for the solar PV on-grid installations in Jordan. Under this law, there was a bylaw number 73 year 2012 also. It was issued to regulate all energy efficiency matters in Jordan. This start coincided with the exponential growth of the solar PV market globally. And large consumers with high electricity tariffs paying up to 38 US cents per kilowatt hour opted to install the solar PV systems to cover their annual electricity needs and reduce the cost of their energy. So I work with these types of customers as owner representative, where I do an initial energy audit to determine the energy conservation measures, and then start developing energy efficiency and renewable energy projects to reduce their bills. Usually I develop the technical specifications for the PV projects required to be installed at their facilities. Then we do the tendering phase, followed by technical and financial evaluation of the received tenders. And we select the best bid, and the contractor is assigned to manage to do the job. I manage the construction phase as well until the date of commercial operation of the project. And as a volunteer in renewable energy and energy efficiency, I have developed many courses and do free training for students and professionals.
That's great. That's impressive, Samer. How do you see solar PV and energy efficiency contributing to the UN Sustainable Development Goals, particularly in Jordan?
Yes, the UN SDGs R17 and there are several that applies to the solar PV sector, especially SDG 3, which is good health and well-being. So we have improved air quality by reducing the emissions from solar, reducing emissions from power generating units using fossil fuel, because prosumers are generating their own electricity without generating any emissions. Then we have SDG 7, which is affordable and clean energy. By improving energy efficiency in the transportation and building sector, this will reduce the cost of energy. Currently, electricity from solar PV is the lowest levelized cost of energy worldwide. And then we have SDG 9, which is the industry, innovation, and infrastructure. So the electricity grids are undergoing rapid transformation and modernization in order to cope with the large number of prosumers on the grid. At the same time, innovation in battery technology, charging infrastructure, smart grid integration is fostering sustainable industrial development globally and locally. The fourth one is the SDG 11, sustainable cities and communities. So when we use solar PV, solar water heaters, and EVs, they are reducing the noise pollution, improving the air quality, reducing urban heat island effect, which will make cities healthier and a better place to live. The fifth one is the SDG 13, the climate action. Of course, reducing greenhouse gas emissions from adopting solar PV, solar water heaters, and EVs, and other clean technologies will help the climate. And finally is the SDG 17, the partnership for the goals. Because we need a lot of collaboration between the government and the private sector entities to implement utility scale projects and other financial mechanisms. So we have a fund, it's called the Jordan Renewable Energy and Energy Efficiency Fund. It's run by the government and is providing 30% subsidies on solar PV and 30% on the solar water heaters for families with monthly income less than $2,115. So these families, they can benefit from this subsidy. And then we have another program under the ministry. It's called Filsarif, which is providing free solar water solar PV systems for families on welfare and families of injured military retirees.
Absolutely. Let us talk about energy efficiency in more detail. What strategies are being implemented in Jordan to improve energy efficiency in residential and commercial buildings?
Yes, one of the most successful strategies was to distribute free LEDs, tube T8 by 120, 18 watts. So this was distributed free, and to replace it with the old CFL T8 120 36 watts. So we replaced the 36 watt with the 18 watt, saving 50% electricity. So consumers were invited to bring their old lighting fixtures to the electricity distribution company at the end of the month when they pay their monthly electricity bills and replace it with the new technology. So around 500,000 units were distributed in this program. And because the payback period on the LEDs is very fast, and the lifetime is around 10 years for the LED, the government was able to save a lot of money, and the consumer saved as well.
That's a great approach, Samer. How do you see the role of artificial intelligence, AI, in enhancing energy efficiency in these sectors?
Yes. AI is now used heavily in manufacturing of solar PV components in order to reduce the number of errors and increase quality. AI is also can significantly enhance the energy efficiency by optimizing energy management systems in buildings. For example, smart thermostat and energy management platforms can analyze usage patterns and adjust energy consumption accordingly. This not only reduces cost for the consumers, but also contributes to overall energy savings on a large scale. AI is also being implemented by the electricity grid operators in order to develop short-term expected generation scenarios based on weather data, especially with large number of distributed energy resources on the grid and high percentages of renewable energy on the grid.
Very interesting. Now, let us discuss the national e-mobility strategy in Jordan. How does this initiative align with the goals of renewable energy and energy efficiency?
Yes, the government of Jordan started the transition to e-mobility in 2014. So they issued regulations to import EVs with free customs and tax for 5 years. So no customs and tax for 5 years. And in 2019, this was followed by implementing a 10% on EVs with batteries bigger than 50 kilowatt hour, and 10% on EVs with batteries less than 50 kilowatt hour, and 15% on batteries above 50 kilowatt hours. And 5 years after that, in 2024, they increased the customs to up to 10% on EVs valued less than $14,000 and 40% on EVs valued between $14,000 to up to $35,000, and 60% tax on EVs with value more than $35,000. So it was an incremental stage. In 2014, also the government bought 300 EVs for their own use, and recently they implemented regulations to reduce the number of vehicles and only purchase EVs. Also, they issued regulations to reduce taxes on electrical trucks, and the e-mobility strategy calls for the retrofit of the electricity grids in order to prepare for the transition or electrification of transportation over the next 25 years.
That's a vital connection. Let us now talk about the smart grid options. How do smart grid or smart grids contribute to the integration of renewable energy and energy efficiency in Jordan?
Yes. This started after COVID-19. There was a rapid development in the electricity distribution networks to transition into smart grids. So the meters were replaced gradually, and as of Q1 this year, we are at 80% smart meters. So basically, we need a lot of communication and a lot of data storage and analysis to be integrated with the electricity sector, in addition to cybersecurity and identifying the energy sectors as critical national infrastructure. This required massive deployment of manpower to replace around 2.6 million electricity meters, and building the communication, fiber networks, data storage, software, cybersecurity, capacity building, and operation. Of course, an application is now available to pay your monthly invoices online and see your historical data for the past 12 months. In addition to asking for different services from the distribution system operator, and this saves a lot of manpower. It saves on the traffic, so you don't have to go and pay your bills. It saves on pollution, and ultimately, it is also reducing the losses on the distribution grids.
Excellent. Let us shift to the global perspective. As a past president of Association of Energy Engineers, AEE, how do you see the role of the Association of Energy Engineers in promoting the UN Sustainable Development Goals and connecting professionals in the energy sector?
Yes, the AE was established in 1977 after the 1973 global oil crisis. So it started in Atlanta, USA, by a group of highly competent professionals in energy management. Later, more global energy crisis happened across the world, and the demand on energy professionals grew. And now AEE is in 125 countries with over 35,000 certified professionals. So the primary goal has shifted from focusing the energy management practice to reduce the operational cost due to energy. Now we are focusing more on decarbonizing our operations in these years. So the main reason, of course, is climate change and the requirements by many global companies to reach net zero carbon by 2030 and achieving the UN SDGs along this path. Yes.
Interesting. Let us shift now to global net zero targets and the long-term strategies for low carbon and climate resilience. Can you please, Samer, let us know more about that?
Yes, of course. Countries around the world have announced commitments to achieve net zero carbon, like the European Union is targeting 2050, China in 2060, India 2070. And countries around the world are developing plans to submit their LTS or long-term strategies to the UN at different periods in time, and then developing more detailed plans to reach that target. So essentially, the main economic sectors are identified, and stakeholders are invited to discussions to forecast the development in technology and the projects needed to reach the net zero targets. And a modeling software like TIMES is used to prioritize these scenarios. So the TIMES model is using the primary energy only, and scenarios to optimize the reaching the decarbonization targets with associated costs are provided. So other economic activities that are emitting greenhouse gases like the N2O and CH4 or refrigerants gases must be modeled separately. So this is an iterative process, and it is very much important to have the right stakeholders from the start of the development.
Fantastic. Let us talk about the challenges related to supply chains in the solar sector. What supply chain challenges have you encountered in implementing renewable energy projects in Jordan, and how do you think these can be addressed?
Yes, challenges in the supply chain occur when there is a global crisis like COVID-19 or the Ukraine-Russian war, and the ship that closed the Suez Canal for several days. So these types of incidents have a direct impact on the shipping industry, which will delay the arrival of goods from China and all over the world. So the major component of the PV systems are modules and inverters, and the top manufacturers are based in China. And these challenges can be addressed by a minor degree by having a minimum stock that can provide the necessary components until the crisis passes. But with the fast development in technology every few months, companies can't risk having a large stock of material because the prices of the material they have will drop as soon as the new model is available on the markets. And new models are developing every few months.
So with the increasing demand for solar PV, how do you see the supply chain evolving to meet this demand?
Yes, the solar PV market in Jordan is well established across the supply chain. There are over 600 companies of different sizes working in the sector across Jordan. They are providing services in the MENA region as well. The global trend is for solar PV to reach 1 terawatt per year capacity, with continuous increase in efficiency and reduction in prices. So the price of PV technology development will be accompanied by developments in the battery storage and EVs, which will increase the number of prosumers to cover both building and transportation and industry needs as well. Therefore, the supply chain will continue to grow across all sectors, especially since the demand on electricity is increasing across the globe, and the net zero carbon targets were announced by the majority of the countries around the world. So clean energy workforce development is essential to meet this need.
So as we look ahead, what do you think are the biggest opportunities for growth in solar PV in Jordan, particularly in relation to the UN SDGs?
Yes. Now, the Ministry of Energy and Mineral Resources has announced verbally on more than one occasion that the share of renewables in the electricity generation will reach 50% by 2030. Currently, the share of renewables is 28.3 as of the announced quarter 3 in 2024. Also, the Ministry of Energy and Mineral Resources is working on developing the updated Jordan Energy Strategy 2025 to 2030, which will clearly state the higher percentage of renewables in the energy mix in the next 10 years. So Jordan is planning to start their utility scale projects and wind projects to generate electricity for the hydrogen projects. So according to the draft strategy, around 7,000 megawatts will be installed by 2030 in the south of Jordan. These projects will be connected to a separate grid to satisfy the demand of the green hydrogen projects. So the second wave of development had started this year with the deployment of solar PV with battery in order to reduce the cost of electricity tariff and utilize the time of use tariff. It is expected that the price of lithium-ion battery storage will continue to decline, making it more attractive to prosumers to deploy. Also, large renewable energy storage projects are expected on the generation, transmission, and distribution levels. So the development of these projects is closely connected with the cost of the levelized cost of energy of lithium-ion battery storage. So with the integration of more renewables on the grid, Jordan will come closer to achieving higher percentages of achieving the UN SDGs 3, 7, 9, 11, 13, and 17.
Those are exciting prospects, Samer. As we wrap up, what advice would you give to young professionals looking to enter the solar energy sector, particularly in relation to sustainability and AI?
Keep learning. This is the key. Keep learning and sharpening your skills because the technology is moving very fast. By the time you graduate from the 5-year engineering program, what you learned during the first 3 years will be obsolete already. And decarbonization is the name of the game in the future because of the climate change. So know as much as you can about solar PV, economics, and decarbonization. AI is growing rapidly as well to become a necessary tool like a calculator or a computer. So every energy engineer must be able to use AI effectively in order to improve their performance and reduce the time in completing their tasks. It's not an option anymore. It's impossible in the future to manage millions of prosumers that are generating electricity and consuming electricity from power generation units without smart data and algorithm to manage the operation.
Thank you so much, Samer, for sharing your insights and expertise with us today. It's been really a pleasure having you on the show.
Thank you, Mo. I enjoyed our conversation very much and wish you all the best.
Do you know, Samber, we have a webinar in AEGTA. We call it Coffee and Conservation, not a conversation.
Okay.
So yeah, so thank you again, Samer. Thank you for all audience for tuning in to the Energy Exchange. Join us next time as we continue to explore the latest trends and innovations in energy and sustainability. Don't forget to follow AEGTA chapter and share this podcast with your network.